Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tronage, and today we're going to be talking about the MultiStar launch pad and workstation for Multirotors. This thing's pretty cool. You're not going to want to miss it. Stick around. This is completely a luxury item. Totally a luxury item. There's really no purpose to having this. You could easily make one, or you don't even need one. But what it is, it's essentially when you go out into like a grassy field and you put your copter down, sometimes the grass may be tall and it hits your props and screws things up. Also, some people, when they like to take off for like a race, if it's legal for the league that you're in, you might want to have your copter raised up. So when you take off, your camera's looking forward. Think of it like this. Your camera's angled up at, let's say, pretend 30 degrees. If you set your copter level, that means you're looking up at the sky when you go to take off. It's a little disorienting. But if you tilt your copter 30 degrees, now your camera is looking level, so when you take off, you just go. That's a theory. Some leagues allow it, some leagues don't. What's nice about this is I liked it just because it gets it out of the grass, because I do a lot of flying in parks and such, and it just lifts it up. Also, you know, if you have some underslung batteries, it makes it very wobbly with your craft. This, it allows you to do is set the craft on it, because it just has two rails that are running along, and you set your craft on top of it, and then you can take off, and you can adjust the angles from 0 to, I think, 35 degrees. So what's really great about that is you're not getting all that grass into your blades while you're trying to take off. What's also nice about it is it's a workstation. I don't see myself working on it like this, but the idea is basically you can put your craft on there so it's not all wobbly, and you can kind of work on it because it's just the two rails holding it by the frame versus it's sitting on the battery or on the battery strap or whatever like that. So, you know, maybe once I have it in use, I may find a use for that. I'm more concerned about it just being able to lift up my craft. Here's what we're gonna do. I haven't even opened it yet. You know how I am. I take you along for the ride for all the unboxings. There's a lot of parts in here, it sounds like. Obviously there's some assembly required, so I figured I'll bring you up in close. We'll open this up, we'll put it together. So come on in, let's just crack this open, see what we got inside. So it starts off with a bunch of parts, some instructions, it looks like. So we'll set those to the side. We have some little bumpers and some screws and stuff. We have a bag of some more parts, probably like the rails and stuff. And then we have this part here, and that's the end of it. So let's move the box out of the way. We have the bottom plate. And it is good to note that this is all metal, which is why I liked it. So I figured it would have high durability. So there is the bottom plate. And then we got some parts here. Just dump those out. They even give you like little felt or rubber, it feels like, so that when you put your craft on here, it doesn't slide around on the rails. That's pretty cool. All right, so we got a bunch of parts, and then we got a bunch of screws here. Let's open those up. All right, so we got like some feetsies. Got some little bumpery things. And some screws and a couple little washers. Let's read the directions here and see what we got. There's a little piece of paper here. So it looks like there's been a change. Step 1 revision. Okay, so basically the revision is for this part, and it's for this piece here, but these have already come pre-installed. But the instructions were basically, they changed this piece is a little different than the original directions. If I can show you, basically, here's the change. This was the piece that's installed now, which kind of looks like a cap. And here's the part that was in the original that looks more like a tube. So that's the change. Everything else is the same, but that part is already installed out of the box. So you don't really even need to worry about that. It says to notice the direction of these tabs and the little holes. So make sure they're on the top. And then I'm gonna take this this guy and slip it onto here like that. And I'm gonna put a 3x8, there's 4 of them. Let's see here, let's separate, you know what, while I'm putting this together, let's separate our screws out into the piles of screws of the same type. So it's telling me to use a 3x8, which is this one. One part done, and the other part with this point up. So what it's just saying is mark this direction, have this be the top, and have this little foot kick back. Okay, and that's set up. And now the next step is to mount these to the base using the M4x8, which is the thicker screw. All right, so it shows it like this, and this guy goes in there like that. All right, this is it's a little awkward to do, so forgive me, it'll be a little bit off camera. And then on this side, I'm gonna have these guys help me standing it up. And it's again calling out to note the direction of this, that it points inward. Then the next step, support lever, are these different or the same? Okay, so it's saying, see how the bearing on this side's bigger and the bearing on this side is smaller? So it's calling this the left and this the right as I'm holding them. So the one that's the right goes on this side. So they basically, what it's just saying is the side that's bigger faces out. So for here, this is gonna go on this side like that. And this is gonna use the 12 screw and the little wash. So this is gonna go through the bearing. Then they want you to put one of these little washers on here. And then that gets screwed into that hole like that. What's nice about this is there's no nuts, like everything, the holes have all been tapped. So when you screw it in, it just screws into the bar. Okay, and that kind of just does this thing there. And then you take another one of the longer screws and we're gonna run it through like this. Doesn't matter where it is and which notch, but just so that you can get it fed through and lined up. And the only thing I see here that's kind of bugging me is it's saying do not tighten this screw, which makes sense because if I tighten this down, now it isn't going to move. But if I have it loose, it can potentially fall out. So what I'm gonna do later, and what I would advise you guys if you're building this, that you put a little thread locker. So even though the screw's gonna be loose, it won't back itself out. All right. And now let's do the same on this side. Next, we put the little rubber strip down across the tops of these. And some of these holes are not punched out, so I'm gonna pop those out real quick. And when I say they're not punched out, I just mean they're punched. It's just their piece is still in the hole. So I'm just popping it out so that it doesn't get caught into the screws or whatnot. Now you can see on one side, it's very tight. So that's the side you want to do, because you see this side has the holes right at the edge. That's going to be on this end. And then this side will go right down like that. All right. When you have a long thing to do like this, what's good is you just tap the first one. Don't start pushing it down yet. Come all the way to the other end and get your other end lined up. Because if you don't, see, now I'm gonna be a little bit short. There. Okay. So that way it goes on straight. And then give it a nice push down. All right, spin it around. Let's do the same thing on this side. Now we take the little stoppers. So let's see here, if we're gonna go like this, and we're gonna launch, you probably put the stopper about, like, let's say there. And you can put these either at the top or the bottom, either or. I'm just gonna put it here for now, just so that it's somewhere, and I can always move it later. And the idea behind this is if you're at a more extreme angle, your quad doesn't just slide down these rails. Now the reality is, with this little bit of rubber on here, probably will hold itself. This is just a little extra bonus. You know, like if you were doing a launch where you were like at this kind of an angle, you might want to have a little bit of a grab for your quad there so it doesn't slide down when you're ready to take off. And then the last thing it's showing is to put the little rubber feet in the corner. And I guess that's just so if you have this on a fancy surface or something, it doesn't scratch it up, because this is like metal and it's kind of a little scratchy. So if you put this down onto like a hard surface, it has a little bit of padding. All right. So there you go. Launch pad built. So let me go grab a quad and see. Like, for example, here's a quad. This one's kind of half apart, so don't mind it. It's my butterfly quad. I still have to finish putting it together. But it'll serve its purpose for just trying this out. So this could go like on here like this. And that would be at 0 degree. And if I wanted to do a launch of, like, let's say a 30 degree, it says, so it does 0, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So let's say 30 degree angle we want to do. Okay, so 30 degree angle. And then the quad goes on right like that. Done. And those little holders, if I don't use those little holders, let's just see what happened. Yeah, it slides off. So those little holders are just enough to keep it secure, but when it goes to take off, it's a clean release. I'm liking this, pretty cool. And then I can see when they say, like, for a workbench, because like right now this is still kind of getting worked on and it's difficult with all the stuff on here. If I put these rails all the way down, I can put this on here like this, and now I can work on it on a stable surface. So overall, the build quality I'm loving. It's seems really, you know, it's metal. It's going to be rugged. It's going to be heavy duty. It's going to be great for those grassy areas because you can see it's going to lift your quad up at least like 3 inches out of the grass. You set this down, even if you have to do a level takeoff, it's still much better. And then if you do want to be able to take, you know, different angles of inclination to take off, you have that option: 30, 25, 20, 10, and 5 degrees. So overall, I'm really happy with this, and I think we're going to have to take it out into the field. Now, I don't know if we're going to go today or not, but guess what? I'm going to have to wait, but you don't have to, because it's going to cut now. In the sunlight, I don't know if you can see, but it is just like kind of like gleaming with all those edges that they have like milled off so they're shiny. So it really has like a nice look to it. And what's great about this is you set this down in the grass, and even if you have to do a level takeoff, like here's a quad, and you set it down on it like that, you're not up in the grass anymore. You can see that it would take very tall grass for your props to be into the grass with this setup. So even if you have to do a level takeoff, you can just set this down and you can just take off, and that's great. Now, I'm not underslinging. All right, so here's your pilot who just took off for those 3 different tests on this landing thing. So the 0 degree, straight up, no handstand, how'd it feel?
The same as using a mat, or just on the ground.
Now, but what was nice is that, was the grass in your way at all? Did you feel like you were a lawnmower at all?
No.
All right, cool.
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
That's pretty good.
All right, now with the 30 degree handstand, how'd you feel?
It was pretty awesome. You can't see like anything because you're lifted off the ground, so it's like, how steep am I? And then once I saw grass, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty steep.
And you went off. So the grip added plenty of grip. You didn't feel like you were going to slip or anything?
Nope. I feel like I can go more. It's just I had no clue where the grass was. Well, I knew where the grass was, not where the ground was.
Nice, nice. And then the 30 degree with the brackets on the rails, how'd that feel?
Pretty good. If you can't do like a little handstand, that's going to work perfect.
So overall impression of this rail system, landing pad, whatever you want to call it?
Pretty good.
Does it get a thumbs up?
Yeah, it gets a thumbs up.
Well, then where's the thumbs up? Nice. I'm not underslinging a battery, but let's pretend this is an underslung battery, and this was the battery, this, you know, the GoPro holder. You can see even if I was underslung and I put it in here, it would still allow for that battery to hang underneath, so you're not dealing with that wobble of an underslung type situation. What's also great about it is you can raise it up, like, so I'll do the maximum 30 degree angle. So now we're at a 30 degree angle, and it has these little nubbins that you can adjust to different locations. You can put it in these screws here, or you can put it at the bottom here, whichever you prefer. And then when you put your quad on it, they just hold it in place like that, so you can have a direct takeoff. So when you're ready to go, you can just off you go. What's also great for it is that when you go to take off, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of nice having that angle so that when you just throttle up, you just go. And you can see these little nubs, they don't even cause any resistance when you lift off. Like it causes resistance to slide down, but that's their point. The moment you take off, there's nothing. So this is great for doing just takeoffs. Now, obviously, some leagues don't allow you to have an angle, but that's fine because you can still put it down to the 0 degree level, and you can do your takeoffs like this. It has that little grippy surface, so I know a lot of people in leagues that require, you know, your props to be flat when it's off. They'll do a little bit of like where they start to ride it up a little bit, and there's enough grip here that it's not going to move, and it'll actually let it lift up. But you just want to be careful to put it in the front, because if you're way back here and you do that, you'll get prop strike on your rails. So if you do that, just make sure you're more in the front, so as you go to lift up, your props are still clearing those rails, and then you can take off. The last thing that's awesome about this is that when you're sitting here just in the field or whatever setting up, and you just set this thing up like this, and you set your quad on it, and you just have it like sitting here. I mean, it looks like a showpiece. It looks like there's a stand, like you can almost like you're displaying this. And you take this away and you just, you know, here's your quad. It kind of just looks like all like a dirty mess. But you put it on the stand, and it makes it almost like a showpiece. One added benefit that I'm noticing also is that since I'm running Crossfire and I have the Immortal antenna, I do have this antenna that sticks down, and normally when I set my quad down, it ends up being smushed, which is never a good thing. But on the stand here, it gets to be free, just like I was saying with an underslung battery. It's not getting smushed, and even if I'm in the 0 degree position, it's still free and clear, not being smushed. So I highly recommend, it doesn't have to be this one. This is just one I found on Hobby King, but some form of a launch pad that has 2 rails. Some people, I see them, they make them out of wood or whatever. I recommend that because, you know, you just get some blocks of wood, you put some kind of rubber grippy stuff on it, and off you go. Obviously this one's made out of aluminum, it's much heavier duty, and it has the adjustable angle, which I think is great. That's all I got to say about this. As always, my name is Tronage. Fly strong.